In the outer spiral arm of the galaxy, the border sectors of the Galactic Empire were quiet. The patrol fleet moved like a line of silver teeth through the dark, its engines a soft glow against the cold stars. This region rarely saw trouble. Smugglers, yes. Small pirates, yes. But true war had not reached this place in many years. Admiral stood on the wide bridge of the flagship, a tall carrier with long armored wings and a sharp bow like a spear. He watched the on the main, hands behind his back, mind calm and almost bored. This was another slow patrol shift, another long pass along a border where nothing ever happened. Around him, crew members in dark uniforms worked at their stations. Quiet talk, short reports, soft beeps from sensors. The fleet was in a relaxed pattern. Escorts flew at standard distance, shields at low power, weapons on standby. There was no reason to be afraid of anything out here. Had served the Empire for more than half his life. He believed in the Empire's strength. He believed in its long list of victories. He believed in the records that said every known threat had been studied, mapped, and classified. In his mind, the galaxy was under control. Then the sensor officer frowned. He sat at a curved console, eyes moving over a wall of light. He had been half asleep in his own thoughts only moments ago. Now he leaned forward, blinking hard, as a strange cluster of readings began to form on his display. "Admiral," he said, "there is something ahead of us." Deep range sweep just picked it up. Did not move at first. His mind placed the report with past false alarms, stray rocks, or ghost signals. "Explain," he replied. "An object," the officer said. "Large mass, no ID code, no beacon, no known drive signature. Distance, 8 million kilometers and closing." "Show me." The main shifted. A zoomed sector of space appeared, marked by a pale circle. At first nothing was visible, just stars and darkness. Then a white outline drew itself around a shadow, a shape without light of its own. Narrowed his eyes, enlarged that. The image jumped closer. The shadow took form. It was long, wide, and solid. No running lights, no hull markings, no imperial transponder code. It was just there, floating in the dark. "Is it a rock formation?" asked. "A fragment from a broken moon?" "Negative, Admiral," the sensor officer answered. "Smooth metal surfaces. Energy traces are low but present. It is a ship." "Straightened, what class?" "Unknown," the officer said. "The database does not match the profile to any registered design." There was a small shift on the bridge. People looked up from their work. A strange ship in imperial space with no ID and no record was not normal. A subtle tension went through the air. "Communications," said. "Send standard contact hail. Wide beam, full protocol. Let us see who trespasses in our territory." "Yes, Admiral," the comms officer replied. A soft tone announced the outgoing message. A calm imperial voice, translated into a dozen trade languages, went out into the void. "This is the Galactic Empire Patrol Fleet, Sector 7 Border Command. Unknown vessel, you are entering Imperial space. Identify yourself and state your purpose." They waited. Seconds passed. The unknown ship did not move. It drifted at a slow, steady speed like a sleeper in a long dream. There were no lights, no engine flares, no sign that it had heard the hail. "No response," Admiral comms reported. Message repeated twice, still nothing. Felt a thin line of annoyance. "Perhaps it is an unregistered miner," he said, "or a pirate looking for a place to hide. Either way, we will not allow it to ignore imperial law." He turned to his tactical display. A clean three-dimensional map of the area showed the patrol fleet as a cluster of blue icons. The unknown ship was a red symbol beyond them. "Launch the forward escort group," ordered. "Have them approach along a safe vector. Shields to ready status. Weapons hot but locked. If the vessel does not respond, we will board it." On the smaller escort cruiser, Captain looked at the incoming order with a grim smile. Escort work could be dull. This, at least, was something different. "Helm," he said, "bring us to heading 039, close with the target at 300 kilometers. No closer until we know what it is." "Yes, Captain." The escort group moved ahead of the main fleet. 3 cruisers and 2 lighter frigates shifted formation and rose like hunting dogs breaking from a pack. Engines brightened. Shields grew stronger. Weapons systems hummed as they warmed. Back on the Imperial flagship, watched from a higher view, the enemy remained silent. The ship drifted and drifted without change. "This feels wrong," the sensor officer said quietly. Heard him? In his long service, he had learned to listen when his crew felt something strange. "Explain," he said. "It is too quiet," the officer replied. "Energy readings are low, but they are not random. There is a pattern. Also, the hull is smooth in a way I have not seen. No visible weapons, no towers, no external arrays. It looks pure." "Pure," repeated. He shook his head. "Every warship in the galaxy has scars and angles. Nothing is pure in battle." On the unknown ship, Captain Brooks stood in a very different kind of bridge. It was smaller and more compact than the Imperial design, but every panel and surface was clean. Dark metal, calm white lights, and quiet humming from deep inside the structure. The ship felt alive and steady, like a breathing giant at rest. His uniform was simple, dark, with subtle rank marks on the chest and shoulders. He had steady eyes and a thoughtful face. He looked not like a conqueror, but like someone used to making hard choices. "Report," he said. Navigation officer Lily Carter sat at a station shaped like a curved crescent. A soft blue map floated in front of her fingers. "Imperial battle group ahead," she said, "main body holding position. They just sent forward an escort wing. Their pattern is cautious but proud. They expect us to fear their approach." "Any response to their hail?" asked. "We have not answered," she said. "Silence is making them uneasy." On the other side of the bridge, systems engineer Jake checked lines of data rolling down his display. "Their scan methods are old compared to ours," Jake said. "They are seeing our outer hull and faint energy traces only. Our core systems are still dark to them. They have no idea what we can do." Nodded slightly. "That is not a reason to be arrogant," he said. "We are one ship, they are many." "One ship like this is not the same as one of theirs," Lily said softly. She did not sound proud. She sounded sure. Looked at the main forward display. The Imperial escorts grew larger there, icons turning slowly as they shifted into attack-ready positions. "We came here to send a message," he said, "not to start a war." Jake glanced up. "They are already choosing war, Captain. They sent the escorts with shields raised and weapons hot. They did not come to talk." Knew he was right. He had read the signals, the pattern of movements, the past records of Imperial behavior toward unknown ships. The Empire believed in force first and questions later. The unknown ship had a name, but there were no letters painted on its hull. Names were spoken here, not shown. Inside, Lily's console chimed. "Escort group is within 1 million kilometers," she reported. "They are spreading to surround us from 3 sides. It is a textbook trap, but they think we do not see it." "We will give them one more chance," said. "Open a narrow-beam channel to the lead escort." Lily worked her controls. A tight communication line formed, threading the dark between the 2 forces. On the Imperial cruiser, an alert flashed at the comms desk. "Unknown vessel is attempting to contact," the officer said. Captain raised his eyebrows. "About time," he muttered. "Put it through." His voice came through the speakers, calm and clear. "Imperial ships," he said, "this is Captain Brooks of a human warship. You are closing on us with weapons active. We request that you hold position and open full diplomatic contact. We do not wish to fight." On this bridge, the air went still. "Human," the first officer whispered. "That is impossible." Stared at the speaker. Humans, he knew from Imperial history records, were a scattered people, Weak colonies, small freighters, no great armies, certainly no warships of this scale. Whatever this vessel was, it did not match those stories. He opened his own channel back. Unknown human vessel, this is captain of the Imperial escort cruiser. You are in Imperial space without registration. You will power down your engines and submit to inspection and control. Failure to obey will be seen as an act of aggression. Heard the reply. He glanced at Lily and Jake. They will not stand down, Jake said. No, agreed. Navigation change nothing. Hold our course. Systems keep primary weapons cold but ready. Prepare the pulse. Yes, Captain, Jake said. On the Imperial flagship, Admiral watched the exchange through relayed data. The word human echoed in his thoughts. The Empire had records of humans as a minor species, often ignored or used as low-level workers in some regions. No mention of a ship like this. Admiral, the flag comms officer said, "We have confirmation. The unknown identifies as human." Felt a small chill, though he did not show it. "Forward group," he said over the fleet channel, "you have your orders. Bring that ship under Imperial authority. If it resists, disable it." On the gave the final command. All ships proceed to engagement pattern, he ordered. Lock target, prepare to fire. Weapons arrays on the 3 cruisers and 2 frigates turned toward the silent human ship. Energy built in their cannons and missile tubes. Shield layers thickened around Imperial hulls. Inside the human warship, Jake's hands moved with smooth speed. "They are charging weapons," he said, "ready to fire in 10 seconds. Spoke quietly, but there was steel in his voice. "Lily, hold us steady," he said. "Do not let our profile change. Jake, on my mark, release the disabling pulse at minimal force. We will not kill unless we must. We only need to show them what we can do." Jake nodded. Pulse matrix is aligned. This will strip shield harmonics but leave hulls intact. On the Imperial bridge, the tactical officer began the countdown. "Weapons locked," he said, "firing in 3, 2, 1. At that same moment said now. Inside the human ship, a hidden system came alive. Deep under the hull, rings of layered metal and white gold crystal spun in perfect harmony. An invisible wave rushed outward from the ship, smooth and silent. The Imperial escorts never saw it. Their sensors were tuned for energy spikes, heat blooms, and visible beams. They did not understand a field that whispered instead of shouted. The wave touched the leading cruisers first. On the weapon lights went dark in an instant. Shield indicators dropped to 0. Power bars fell like stones. "What just happened?" the tactical officer cried. "We lost shields," the engineer shouted. "Weapons are offline. I am reading a complete collapse in our defensive grid." The same chaos spread to the other escorts. Energy systems tripped, fell, and refused to rise. Weapon cores shut down automatically to avoid overload. Bridge lights flickered. Admiral leaned forward on his command throne as warning symbols exploded across his fleet display. "Report," he snapped. "We are losing shield contact with the forward group," sensor control said. "All 5 ships just went dark on defense. They are not under fire. There is no visible attack. It just happened." Refused to believe what he was seeing. "Impossible," he said. "No empire in the galaxy has technology that can do that at this range." "It is not an empire," the sensor officer whispered. "It is that human ship." On the unknown warship, watched in silence as the escorts drifted, suddenly naked in the void. "We could end them now," Lily said softly. "One burst from the main gun, and none of them would remain." "We will not," replied. "They fired nothing at us. They only meant to. Intention matters, but action matters more. Open a general channel to the entire fleet." Lily nodded and opened the line. "This is Captain Brooks of the human warship," he said. "Your escort group is now defenseless. We have not damaged their hulls. We have only removed their shields and weapons. This is your warning. Do not attack us again. We do not seek war, but if you force us, we will defend ourselves." On the Imperial flagship, every officer could hear those words. On distant escorts, crew members stared at dead consoles and listened in fear. The idea that one ship could disarm 5 Imperial vessels with a single pulse shook them. His jaw clenched. "The Empire does not bow to threats," he said. Yet his hands did not move to order a full attack. Some part of him, buried under years of belief in Imperial strength, understood that rushing forward now might mean the end of his entire fleet. "Who are you?" he asked quietly, looking at the image of the silent ship on the screen. Back on the human warship, felt the weight of the moment. This was not just a border incident. This was their first true step into the open galaxy after many years hidden. He thought of the old stories, of how humans had been treated in the past, how their small colonies had been pushed, taxed, and sometimes burned when they did not submit. He thought of the choice his people had made, to vanish from the maps, to hide in dark regions, to build something new in secret. Now they had returned, and the Empire had met them with guns. "Captain," Lily said quietly, "the main fleet is holding position. They are afraid." "Good," said. "Fear can be the first step toward respect if it is handled with care." "What now?" Jake asked. "Now," said, "we wait and see if they choose to talk like thinking beings or charge us like wild animals. If they choose the second path, we will show them why the galaxy should have taken humans more seriously." The human warship drifted, quiet and watchful, in front of the stunned Imperial fleet. In that stretched silence, rumors began to form in the minds of every Imperial sailor. Rumors that somewhere, somehow, humans had built a power that no Imperial record had ever predicted. For the first time in many years, the Galactic Empire felt the first thin edge of panic. The silence between the human warship and the Imperial fleet did not last long, but it felt heavy and slow, like a storm waiting to break. The disabled escorts drifted without power, their crews confused and shaken. The main Imperial fleet stayed at range, weapons still ready but no longer moving forward. Admiral walked slowly across the bridge of his flagship. Each step echoed against the metal floor as he studied the tactical display. Fear was not something he allowed to show, yet it sat quietly behind his ribs, watching every thought. "This is not normal," he said in a controlled voice. "Prepare the second battle group. Full power, operational distance. I want them ready to strike if that ship makes one hostile move." "Yes, Admiral," several officers replied at once. Across the fleet, new cruisers shifted position. Engines flared brighter. Shield domes grew thicker and stronger. The Empire had fought hundreds of wars, and it had learned that sudden power often meant danger. This unknown human ship had already humiliated the escorts, would not allow the rest of his fleet to be seen as weak. On the human vessel, Brooks watched the slow movement of Imperial ships. He could see the pattern changing, the angle of approach, the slow tightening of space around them. "They are preparing another attack," Lily said. "You can feel it in the way they move, proud, stiff, and angry." "I feel it," said. "They do not know how to respond to something they cannot control." Jake tapped at his system board. "They are routing more energy to their forward cannons and drone bays," he said. "If they decide to fire, it will be heavy and direct." Folded his arms behind his back and stared at the image of the Imperial flagship. That ship carried the mind of this fleet, and that mind was now struggling between pride and fear. "Send another message," said. "Wide channel, keep the tone calm." Lily sent the signal without hesitation. "Admiral, this is Captain Brooks," he said. "You have seen what we can do. We are not here to destroy your people. We are not pirates. We are not invaders. We are human. We move through this sector by choice and by right. Stand down and we can speak as equals." On's bridge, the message played across the room. Some officers exchanged glances. Others looked at the Admiral for direction. The idea of equals did not sit well with a power that called itself an empire, but the results on his screen could not be ignored. "Who gives you the right," replied, "to enter imperial space and demand equality?" "Did not hesitate. Our survival gives us that right, our restraint gives us that right, and our strength makes sure you will listen." The words were not loud or dramatic. They were clear, steady, and firm. They landed with more weight than a shouted threat ever could. Muted the channel and turned to his tactical chief. "How many ships do we have within strike range?" 36 combat vessels, sir. 12 heavy cruisers, the rest frigates in support." "Can they stop it?" "We do not know," the officer admitted. "Our weapons system seemed useless against the field it used before. We do not understand its core structure." Exhaled slowly. Ignorance was the most dangerous enemy of all. On the human ship, Jake's screen showed lines of old Imperial communication chatter. Fear buzzed inside their frequencies, like insects in a bottle. "They are arguing among themselves," he said. "Some want to attack, some want to fall back, some want to capture us as a symbol." Smiled faintly. "That is the nature of power when it meets something new, confusion." "They should choose carefully," Lily said. "Our second pulse will not be as gentle." Nodded, "And I hope we do not need to use it." Across the cold space, a small craft left the Imperial flagship and moved toward the human warship. It was narrow and clean, shaped like a needle with thin wings trailing behind. It was not armed like the others. Its signals were weak and open. Lily leaned forward. "They are sending a liaison craft, not a weapon platform." "Studied it, so they choose talk for now." "Open a secure approach corridor," he said, "but keep all internal defenses active. Caution does not mean trust." The small craft drifted closer, passing slowly between two disabled escort cruisers. Its pilot kept a steady course. Fear had not stopped them from obeying the Admiral's command. Inside the Imperial liaison craft, Officer gripped the controls with tight hands. He had been chosen because he spoke calmly and followed orders without hesitation. But he had never approached a vessel like this before. Its smooth surface gave no sign of weakness, no visible seam or docking port. "Human ship," said through the comm channel, "this is Imperial diplomat. I come to speak, not fight." "You are acknowledged," Lily replied. "Maintain speed and heading. You will be guided to a connection point." Guided fields of light shaped a path, pulling the small craft toward a hidden opening beneath the human hull. Metal moved without sound, forming a sealed channel where ships slid inside and locked in place. Miles away, on its bridge, tension grew as every officer watched the process through remote sensors. "They let him dock," sensor control said. "They did not resist." Good murmured. "Explain to him that the Empire expects cooperation, not defiance." Inside the human warship, the docking bay was unlike anything expected. Smooth floors, gentle light, and air that smelled clean and calm. No shouting units, no visible guard line, just silence and soft mechanical hum. Waited at the far end of the bay, hands at his sides, posture relaxed but alert. Lily stood near him, while Jake monitored systems from a nearby panel. Stepped out slowly. He was taller than, with sharp facial markings and layered Imperial robes, yet his eyes held careful curiosity rather than pure aggression. "You are human," he said. "We are," replied, "and you are welcome aboard as long as your intent is peaceful." Glanced around. This vessel is not in any Imperial record. No human design like this has ever been logged. "That is because we chose to remain unseen," said. "Your Empire did not leave us many reasons to trust it in the past." Lowered his gaze slightly. "Histories say humans were scattered traders and minor settlers, not builders of machines that can silence fleets." "Histories often speak only what the strong want remembered," replied. In distant space, the Imperial ships held position, waiting for the outcome of this first close contact. Seconds stretched to minutes, then to more minutes still. Folded his hands. Admiral wants clear terms, he said. He wants to know if you are here to challenge the Empire. Was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his tone was level and direct. We are here because this sector is no longer only yours, he said. Humans have returned, not to rule but to exist without threat. Your patrol opened fire commands before asking questions. That cannot continue. His eyes flicked slightly, and if the Empire refuses to accept that, then the next time we defend ourselves, said softly, it will not be a limited example. It will be final. Outside, the Imperial fleet began to show signs of restless movement again, as command chains buzzed with debate and doubt. On the bridge, the tactical officer leaned close. Some captains are urging you to strike, sir. They say honor demands it. Clenched his jaw. Honor will not keep their ships alive. His eyes returned to the main screen showing the unmoving human vessel, its surface gleaming under distant starlight. He saw no guns, no spikes, no aggression in shape, and yet it had taken his escorts apart without effort. He thought of his empire's past wars, of species that had been crushed by overwhelming force. He thought of the unexpected calm in the human captain's voice. This was not a predator's growl. It was a warning from someone who knew his own power. Open channel ordered. This is Admiral, he said. Captain Brooks, your representative is alive and unharmed. I appreciate that restraint. However, you must understand that Imperial space is not a road open to all. His voice answered across the void. And you must understand that humans will not return to hiding. We are willing to speak, trade, and respect your borders, but we will not be treated as inferior or silent shadows. There was a pause. Even the static of space seemed to wait. Spoke again. If we withdraw our forces from attack posture, will you remain peaceful? As long as you do not raise weapons at us again, replied. On the flagship, made a choice that tasted like broken pride, but also like survival. All ships, he commanded, reduce weapons readiness to neutral. Maintain observation distance only. Do not fire unless fired upon. Relief washed through many officers, though none dared say it aloud. Gradually, the Imperial ships eased their aggressive stance. Drone wings pulled back. Cannons returned to safe alignment. The space around the human ship felt less like a mouth of teeth and more like a guarded pause. Watched the change on his display and nodded slightly. They chose reason for now. The disabled escorts slowly regained basic power as their systems reset. Crews worked fast to stabilize controls and prevent drift collisions. Though their pride was wounded, their hulls remained whole. Inside the docking bay, let out a slow breath. Admiral agrees to temporary non-aggression, he said. You will not be fired upon unless you engage. That is a good first step, said. A fragile one, but a step. What will humans do now? Asked. We will move with care, answered. And we will remember how this meeting began, not as fear but as a chance to change the future. Studied his face silently. Then he nodded once and turned back toward his craft. As the liaison ship pulled away from the human warship and returned toward the Imperial flagship, the unease across the fleet shifted into something new. It was no longer only panic. It was curiosity. It was awareness. It was the knowledge that the galaxy was no longer as simple as it had once seemed. On the bridge, officers watched in silence as relayed his report. The words human strength and human restraint flowed through command channels. For the first time, many realized that humans were not the forgotten species of old data archives. They were something reshaped by silence and survival. On the human warship, stood alone for a moment at the viewing port, stars reflecting faintly on the dark glass. He did not smile. He did not celebrate. He only watched the Imperial fleet from a distance. Lily approached quietly. They did not fire, she said. That matters. It does, replied, but do not forget how close they came. Next time may not be so slow. Jake joined them. Reports from our outer scanners show more Imperial ships shifting toward this sector. Word is spreading fast. Then we continue forward carefully, said. Our message must stay clear. We are not prey. We are not conquerors. We are humans who will not bow again. The human warship moved on, slow and steady through the dark, its presence now a quiet mark on the Empire's map. Behind it, the Imperial fleet watched, uncertain and shaken, knowing they had just faced a power their records never prepared them to understand. And somewhere deep in the Imperial core, distant leaders had already begun to ask the same frightened question. What else have the humans been hiding? The human warship moved deeper into Imperial space without changing speed or direction. It did not hide. It did not rush. It traveled with steady calm, like a presence that no longer feared being seen. Behind it, the Imperial patrol fleet remained at distance. They did not follow too close, and they did not fall too far back. Every move was cautious. Every order was slow. Fear had settled into their muscles and bones, and it showed in their timing. Admiral stayed on the bridge longer than usual. He watched the quiet shadow of the human vessel ahead and wondered how many more ships like it existed beyond the edge of known space. His thoughts were not shared aloud, but they shaped his silence. In the Imperial capital, far from the border sector, news had already traveled faster than any command shuttle. Data packets flashed through military networks. Whispers passed through political chambers. The story grew larger every time it was told. One human ship. Disabled entire escort group. Unknown power. No record. Senators gathered in long halls of polished stone and glowing glass. High officials whispered to each other in tense voices. Military leaders stared at reports full of red warning markers and unexplainable system failures. They did not like what they read. The council chairperson leaned forward at the central table. "Repeat the summary," they said. A senior analyst cleared his throat. A single human warship entered our border region and neutralized 5 of our patrol vessels without causing structural damage. It has since continued into controlled space while maintaining peaceful posture. Admiral has reported that it refused to identify its larger network, but claims humans have returned as a modern power. This is unacceptable, another voice snapped. We cannot allow a rogue species to drift freely through our territory. Another official raised a clawed hand. If it were rogue, half the fleet would already be gone. This is something else. Fear wrapped around each word. Back in the quiet of space, the human crew kept their routine steady, walked the bridge slowly, checking each display. Lily adjusted course with soft movements. Jake watched core readings for any ripple or threat. They knew the Empire was watching. They knew the Empire was afraid. What they did not yet know was how deep that fear had already spread. In the far corner of the Empire, a second fleet was being prepared. Darker ships, heavier guns, admirals who believed that the correct answer to fear was force. They did not care about diplomacy or soft words from a calm human voice. They only saw a threat that needed crushing. Captain of the Second Fleet stood tall in his command room, eyes hard and narrow. "I will not have a single unknown vessel insulting our borders," he growled. "We will burn it from the sky and drag its wreck back to the capital as proof." "Yes, Commander," his officers replied. Engines flared, dreadnoughts turned. A hunt began behind the calm face of politics. On the human warship, a faint tremor passed through long-range sensors. "We have movement," Jake said. "Large mass signatures far behind us. This is not the patrol fleet. These are heavier units." Lily brought up the map. "Second wave," she murmured. "Hostile posture clear." Studied the pattern. Aggressive lines, direct angle of approach. These ships were not curious or careful. They were hungry for conflict. "They are not here to talk," said. "No," Lily agreed. "They are here to make a point." "How long until they reach effective range?" asked. 40 minutes, Jake replied. and they are accelerating. Nodded once, then we prepare. On the bridge, lights shifted to a soft alert glow. Panels unlocked hidden functions. Systems came alive in layers, each one more advanced than the last. The ship did not change shape, but its inner heart woke fully from half-sleep. Far behind them, Captain's fleet burned through space, closing like a storm. When the distance shortened, his voice cut sharp through open channel. Unknown human vessel, you have violated controlled Imperial space and embarrassed our armed forces. Power down and prepare for destruction. Listened, face still calm. He did not reply at once. That silence alone made angry. Weapons to full charge, ordered. Once we hit optimal range, we fire without delay. His fleet shifted into attack formation. Rows of dark warships moved like a blade ready to strike. Finally spoke, but his words were slow and clear. Imperial Commander, he said, you are choosing force over reason. We will defend ourselves if you continue on this path. Laughed, one ship does not dictate terms to the Empire. We will see, replied. He closed the channel and turned to Lily. Prepare evasive vectors, minimal movement. Let them see how precise we choose to be. To Jake, he said softly, bring all secondary systems online. Defensive field at full layer, silent mode. Reserve fire until direct impact attempt. Yes, Captain. In the distance, the Second Fleet entered range. Sensors howled on their ships as targeting arrays locked onto the human vessel. Missile bays opened. Beam cannons glowed with stored fury. Fire commanded. The dark of space lit up. Bolts of energy streaked forward. Heavy missiles roared in controlled arcs. Electronic war pulses rippled outward, built to tear shields apart. On the human warship, none of it landed. Instead, the space around the ship shimmered faintly, almost like heat over desert sand. Missiles slowed as they struck an invisible field. Energy beams folded and slid away, absorbed without sound. Control feedback flooded Imperial sensors with confusion. What is happening? Snarled. We cannot penetrate its barrier, an officer shouted. All damage readings are 0. Then use everything, bellowed. Overload the cannons. More fire poured across the void, but the result did not change. No sparks, no cracks, no reaction from the human hull. On the bridge, Jake studied the data calmly. Their weapons are burning hard now, he said. Field integrity remains perfect. Did not smile. Return fire, he said. Measured output only. Jake's fingers moved with controlled precision. A narrow band of focused light extended from beneath the hull. It did not explode. It did not roar. It touched instead, like a firm hand pressing against metal. The lead Imperial dreadnought jerked sideways as its left wing folded inward. Systems failed across its outer structure. Engines sputtered. Shields vanished. Another beam followed. A second warship spun, dead in space, drifting powerless. This was not chaos. It was clean, precise control. Stared at the damage reports in horror, as his most powerful ships fell silent one by one. Fall back, he shouted, regroup. But it was too late to control the storm he had started. Raised a hand slightly. Enough. Disable forward attackers only. Leave their core group intact. They must understand we do not seek extermination. Jake obeyed. Within minutes, the Second Fleet found itself crippled, not destroyed but hollow, weapons offline, shields collapsed, pride shattered. Silence rolled in, heavy and sharp. Sat frozen, staring at his broken screen. His fists trembled. His fleet, proud and fierce, was reduced to drifting steel ghosts. His voice returned over open channel. This was your choice, he said. We warned you. This is restraint, not mercy wasted. In the distance, Imperial Command relays burst with urgent data. Battle Group 2 neutralized. Human ship unharmed. Defensive superiority absolute. In the capital, Panic finally moved from whispers into full alarm. Emergency councils were called. Military red lights flashed in high towers. Messages bounced from system to system. No one could deny the truth now. Humans were not weak. Humans were not lost. Humans were something else entirely. On bridge, he watched the data arrive with slow understanding. Fleet disabled. Every attempt crushed. One ship holding its ground like a wall of silent night. He closed his eyes for a brief moment. We forced their hand, he murmured. On the human warship, Lily looked at the drifting remains of the Second Fleet. Fear still pressed at the edge of her calm. They pushed us, she said. Yes, replied. And now the galaxy knows what happens when they do. Jake watched new signals form on his screen. Long-distance transmissions spiking from core space. Political channels trying to open contact. They want to talk again, he said. Nodded, of course they do. Fear always asks for words after bullets fail. Open limited channel, he said. A formal voice echoed from the far reaches of Imperial Command. This is High Council Mediator. Humans, we request cease movement and prepare for full diplomatic engagement. The Empire seeks understanding and correction. Listened, expression steady. We are listening, he replied, but understand this clearly. If you meet us with weapons again, you will not receive another warning. His tone softened. We acknowledge. Arrangements for neutral meeting coordinates will be transmitted. No armed presence beyond escort perimeter. Glanced at Lily and Jake. Prepare for diplomatic position, he said, but do not relax security. Respect does not erase history. As the human warship adjusted its course slightly toward the new meeting path, the disabled Imperial ships remained floating behind like reminders written in metal and fear. The Empire had lost more than systems that day. It had lost the comfort of certainty. Far within its power centers, leaders now spent sleepless hours analyzing one burning truth: that the humans they once ignored had grown in silence. And that silence had shaped something that now stood beyond their control. The stars ahead looked no different from any other stretch of space, yet everyone on the human warship knew this point carried more weight than any battle. This was not a weapons line or an ambush zone. This was the place the Empire had chosen for words instead of fire. The ship moved into the assigned coordinates with quiet control. Beyond the viewing panels, faint outlines of Imperial vessels formed a wide circle at long range. They kept their distance exactly as promised. No sudden moves, no aggressive angles. Lily studied the scans. They are holding to the terms, she said. Escort perimeter only. No heavy guns exposed. Gave a slow nod. Fear made them careful. Sometimes fear saved lives. Jake checked the internal readings. All systems stable. Defensive field ready if needed. Stepped closer to the main communication console. Opened the primary visual channel. Let them see who they speak with. The screen shifted. A wide hall appeared from the Imperial capital, framed by tall pillars and dim golden light. Figures stood in a half-circle, their shapes different but their eyes unified in tension. At the center stood Mediator, calm but clearly measured. Captain Brooks said, "The Empire acknowledges your presence and the power you have shown. This meeting is to define terms that prevent further conflict." His voice was steady. That is also our goal. We did not return to the open galaxy to add more ruins to the stars. Tilted their heads slightly, then speak openly. What do humans want? Paused only a moment. Respect, space, the right to exist without shadow or chains, and clear understanding that your fleets will not attack us because of ancient stories or old pride. Murmurs passed through the hall. A senior council member spoke. You disabled 2 of our battle groups. Some consider that an act of war. Did not deny it. Your ships locked weapons on us first. We responded in defense and restraint. If we wanted war, those ships would now be dust. Silence followed his words. Folded their hands. If the Empire agrees to recognize human space and presence as independent and lawful, will humans cease hostile demonstrations of power? Answered without hesitation. Yes. Our strength is not meant to threaten every horizon. It is meant to protect our people and ensure we are never again erased or hunted. In the Great Hall, the tension softened slightly, though distrust still lived in quiet corners. A younger official spoke more carefully. Where have humans been all this time? His eyes narrowed just a touch. Rebuilding, learning, remembering. While others saw us as weak settlers, we chose silence and strength. We chose patience over revenge. Lowered their gaze. The Empire misjudged you. Yes replied, badly. For a moment, the channel carried only the faint echo of distant systems and the soft hum of power behind each speaking chamber. Then spoke again. A formal accord will be prepared. Space boundaries will be marked. Trade channels may open under strict regulations. Any violation by either side will be reviewed openly. Inclined his head slightly. That is acceptable. Lily glanced at him as the negotiations continued. This is working, she whispered. For now, said quietly. Hours passed as details formed. Lines drawn on shared maps. Protocols agreed upon. Rules written for movement, contact, and military presence. What had begun with fire ended in careful language. Outside, Imperial ships remained still, like silent observers to history shifting sideways. At last, spoke once more. The Galactic Empire formally recognizes the human alliance as an independent power. This session marks the beginning of peaceful coexistence. Held their gaze. Peaceful only lasts while respect lives. We understand, said. The channel closed. On the bridge, relief did not come as celebration. It came as slow breath and steady quiet. Resolution did not erase the memory of incoming fire, shattered escorts, and near extinction. Lily leaned back slightly. That is it, she said. We have our place. For now, replied, but peace is not owned, it must be guarded. Jake looked out at the fatting shapes of Imperial ships. Do you think they truly learned? Watched the distant lights drift further away. Some have, some only fear, the rest will take time. As the human warship turned away from the diplomatic point, a soft transmission reached from the Imperial patrol fleet still stationed nearby. Admiral appeared briefly on the line, his face worn by recent events. Captain Brooks, he said, I was wrong about your people. That mistake nearly cost many lives. I will not forget this meeting. Nodded once, nor will we. History remembers both harm and growth. The line closed. Space opened wide ahead, clear and calm. Behind, the Empire returned to its systems with new boundaries etched into its maps and its pride. Inside the human vessel, routine slowly returned, but the sense of change stayed bright beneath every step. Lily walked through the corridors, passing crew who spoke in low tones. Some wore relief on their faces. Others wore the weight of what they had seen. Jake paused at a console, adjusting energy flows. The pulse systems were cooling now, resting after their terrible display. Stood alone at the observation deck, stars flowing past like endless thoughts. He saw more than points of light. He saw old ships burned, colonies broken, and quiet years spent hiding hope behind fear. He also saw a path forward. Humans would no longer be erased from maps or footnotes in foreign archives. They had stepped into view with strength and control. They had forced a great empire to pause and listen. But he knew this story was not ending, only settling into a new chapter. Far away, in edges of space where even imperial charts grew thin, human fleets still waited in silence, not as invaders, as guardians of their own broken past and fragile future. Opened a secure channel to deeper human territory. First contact successful, he said. Empire stands down, new accord in place. Remain alert but hopeful. Calm replies filled his display. Quiet agreement, steady readiness. Weeks passed. Trade probes traveled carefully between borders. Small diplomatic crafts moved where warships once raced. Uneasy trust grew, like a thin bridge spanning a deep and old wound. In imperial classrooms, new lessons replaced the old dismissive lines about humanity. Revised texts spoke of caution, strength, and mutual respect. Young officers studied recordings of the disabled fleets with wide eyes and silent awe. Fear slowly shifted shape. On a distant imperial outpost, a junior officer looked out into space and whispered, "They faced us and did not destroy us." His superior replied, "Then perhaps they are stronger than we ever were." Back aboard the human warship, met again with Lily and Jake in the quiet of the bridge night cycle. "We have done what we set out to do," Lily said. "We are seen now." "Yes," replied, "but we must stay smarter than our power. Strength without control turns into the same shadow we escaped." Jake nodded, "So we watch and prepare." "Always," said, "and we remember who we are." Outside, the stars stretched endless and patient. The galaxy had shifted, not through conquest but through choice and resolve. In corners of imperial politics and distant alien corridors, one truth began to settle quietly but firmly: that humans were no longer a forgotten echo. They were a presence that had faced the universe and demanded to stand on equal ground. The human warship moved on, steady and calm, not as a threat but as a reminder. A reminder that survival, when sharpened by silence and guided by restraint, could become something more than fear. It could become balance. And somewhere beyond sensor range, more human lights waited in the dark, not for war, but for the long and careful work of shaping a future no empire could ignore again.